the staying power of real community is something that always amazes me. About 15 years ago, when I first came to Central Dallas Ministries, I met a young man named Marco Smith. He was an amazing young guy. He was quick and bright, and he had a great smile. At the time, he was only 14 years old. On one occasion, he'd been at the wrong place at the wrong time, right in the middle of a drug deal that he had nothing to do with, but he found himself trapped in the middle of what turned into a shootout. And as a result of that, he'd been shot in the neck, and the bullet fortunately did not affect his spinal cord or take his life. But it did clip his vocal cords a little bit, and so he had a kind of a raspy, low, deep, coarse voice, which is a little bit incongruent with his size because he was not a big fellow. He was a small young man, 14 years old. I've told the story many times that on one occasion, Marco came up to me, and I'll never forget what he had on. He was wearing a North Carolina, a Tar Heel baby blue jersey, basketball jersey, and a North Carolina baby blue baseball cap turned around backwards on his head. And he walked up to me and sort of poked me in the chest with that deep voice, and he said, "Larry, don't worry, man, I got your back." And he broke into a big grin and gave me a hug. And that incident is something that I've always remembered and will always remember as long as I have memory and the capacity to remember. "Larry, I got your back," was his way of saying, man, we're together. Communities like that, and the resiliency of community and relationships that are forged and that are crafted in a setting like this, in the context of the inner city with all of its struggle and with all of its difficulty, are relationships that last. And I say that, and I tell you the story of Marco because earlier this week, Marco stopped by to see me. He'd called the day before to tell me that his mother had passed away after a massive stroke. And he and his brother, who is in the United States Army, preparing to ship out to Iraq or Afghanistan, I guess Afghanistan in this case now, were left with making the funeral arrangements for their mom. Here Marco now 29 years old, 15 years later, and his brother, his younger brother, probably not more than 20 years old, having to deal with the burden of the death of their mom and all that goes along with making a decent funeral for her. And we were glad to help out with that, but it was as if Marco and I had not missed a beat since that very first time we met or talked in such a personal way. And I've seen him across that time period, but it had been a while. And I was reminded again of the power and the strength of community, of friendship, of love, and of mutual appreciation. Marco's doing okay in spite of his grief today, and he's making a difference in his community and certainly in his family. I just felt like I needed to tell that story. Thanks for dropping in.